So welcome back to the Cultivator podcast. I'm Daybar.
And I'm CJ. Today we have a fantastic episode for you focusing on the values of biodiversity and why it is essential for our ecosystems at the farm.
That's right. To help us dive deeper into this topic, we are thrilled to have Rebecca with us again. Rebecca Ingalls is our farm's co-founder and passionate herbalist. She's really enhanced the farm's biodiversity, and we're excited to have her here. Hi, Rebecca.
Hi, Daybar. Hi, CJ.
Hi. Rebecca, can you explain to our listeners what biodiversity means and why it's crucial for our ecosystem?
Wow, that's a big question.
It is a big question.
So it's a question about life, life, diversity, variety, and it's so important to our ecosystem and to our ecology. If you look at nature at all, or even if you look at the human body, like we need so many diverse and variable nutrients, minerals, vitamins, proteins, amino acids.
We're very needy.
Yes. So a lot of the phytochemicals that we need come from plants, and looking at the plants as, I believe that's what we're talking about, at Newhall Fields. We try to bring in as many diverse species of plants as we can. This is just in keeping with nature. So any diverse ecosystem is going to be stronger. So a diverse group of people, a diverse community, a diverse culture is going to be stronger. And so this is what we practice at the farm. It's a way to look at nature and see ourselves as part of nature, not in charge of nature, but that humans are working in concert with nature. So we're observing and we're just following this basic law of nature, that a diverse ecosystem is a strong ecosystem. If you think about a culture, let's just look at a human culture, you would want in your community people who can cook, people who can metalsmiths, woodworkers, medicine people, spiritual people. So all these, you'd want all this diverse group of people who could fulfill the needs of the community. So if everyone was doing the same thing and if everyone was thinking the same and doing the same activities, it would not be a strong community. So this translates to the farm. Having a diverse group of plants at the farm will equal diverse groups of birds, amphibians, mammals. And I like to also think of having a diverse group of people come out and volunteer at the farm makes us stronger.
That's such a beautiful visual. Oh my God, I'm like seeing it in my head right now. And that analogy you gave of like people of different skill sets coming together, it's so applicable. I never thought of it like that.
Well, when you think about the way we're tending the land, I think of our agriculture, the way we're doing it is we are tending more than, ruling over the plants. And so that we're not using herbicides or pesticides, but that's part of that biodiversity. If you have that diversity, these things will work themselves out.
Yeah.
In this community.
I've heard you use like in concert with a lot.
Yeah.
And that's also another like phrasing that like makes it all click together for me. So now that everyone's getting ready for planting season and we're hearing a lot about biodiversity and native plants, or about native plants mainly, how does like biodiversity fit into the picture of native plants and preparing for a new season?
That's a great angle there to think about. When I think about native plants, excuse me, I think about and here we are in New England. So I mostly think about New England because this is where we're living here, and how these this place has been tended for thousands of years. So before colonial times, the land was still being tended, and there were slow burns, and there was agriculture being practiced. So I think about when I go into a space, so going into, your home garden or, your community garden, looking at what is there and maybe doing a little research or just a little thinking about what might be missing. So if we want biodiversity, that's a way to look at any ecosystem, to go in with a question rather than an answer, to say, I wonder what might be missing from here. And then the next step is to be able to introduce something. So, and a good thing to introduce is a plant that is native to the area, because that plant has adapted to the area and will adapt and will draw in all the other organisms that are also native to the area. So it would be, a native plant will draw in the native pollinators and the native mammals and so thinking about that, and it could be a tree, it could be a shrub, and it could be I love the perennial plants. So thinking about those plants that were here, and if you're not seeing them in your yard or you're not seeing them on your farm, to bring them on in, which we have been doing.
Bring them on in. Yeah, I think also a lot of when you bring up how long this land has, been tended, and you hear a lot about regenerative agriculture, and so many, almost all of those practices that are used as regenerative agriculture mirror indigenous,
Absolutely.
how indigenous populations used to farm and take care of the land. You mentioned native pollinators. Could you tell us a little bit more about native pollinators and their role, I guess, in the biodiversity?
Oh, their role.
I mean, I know it's huge. Their role is very important.
They're fulfilling their longing for life, and part of that is to go around and get pollen and nectar from the plants and the flowers, and then go from plant to plant, and they will pollinate the plants so we can get yummy
All the goodies.
squash and peppers and tomatoes. But also they will bring in, so a lot of the insects will bring in the birds, and they also will, they'll eat the seeds and scatter the seeds, and hopefully eat the aphids.
Yeah.
And help with pest management.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, and that is right, a lot of the benefit of having a lot of different types of plants, because different types of plants host different types of pollinators or different types of beneficial insects. And then hopefully sometimes it can balance itself out. Do you have a favorite native pollinator? I have a favorite beneficial insect, and it is the green lacewing, but I don't think it's a pollinator.
Well, I think of them all as pollinators. I don't know enough to say, and I don't know if anyone could ever know enough, because there's so many pollinators. Yeah. There's so many different kinds of bees and native bees. I can't identify them all, but I know they're there. Yeah, because you can look at some of the plants in bloom and you see how many pollinators are here.
Wow.
It'd be great to track it. I think that's something we would like to do. But I love hummingbirds. It's just they travel. They're so small and they travel so far, and they're just such a delight. They're rather magical, the way they can just flit about and then hover, and They're just delightful to see.
They
So,
kind of remind me of unicorns. Burrito used to call them like unicorns of the sky.
oh,
Yeah.
I love that.
They are
Yeah, I
so
have a
They're
special
magical.
affinity for
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a pretty sweet pollinator. So I love that. Last year, we shared a little about hedgerows on our social media platform. I think it was a very exciting year for hedgerows last year on the farm.
Mm.
Could you share with our listeners what role hedgerows play in supporting biodiversity?
Sure. Yeah. I just have to say it. I love a hedgerow.
Love a
Like,
good
I
hedgerow.
love a hedgerow.
Yeah, every year is a good hedgerow year at New Hall Fields.
Yeah. So thinking about a hedgerow as a I like to think of it as a tiny ecosystem in and of itself. So that's the goal is to, I mean, there are multiple functions. So when you think about a row and a hedge, you can think about a border. So it could be a border between one field block and another. It could be a border between our neighbors and another. I mean, I think before people had fences, they had hedgerows. And so at the farm, we really work on having a hedgerow that will have trees, shrubs, and understory. So there's food for everybody. So some fruiting trees. We have crabapple. We're introducing hawthorn this year, I believe. And we've got Juneberry, or otherwise known as serviceberry. And we have the spice bush, nannyberry. What else do we have there?
Elder.
The elders are beautiful. We have peaches, pears, hazelnut, and I think I'm missing one, the high bush cranberry, the viburnum. So they're looking really good this year. And the peach tree out there is looking really, really good. So it's food, forage for the animals and for us. Yeah, those elderberries last year were amazing. They were huge.
They really took off
So-
in like a year.
Yeah, and there was plenty for us and plenty for, the
The
birds.
There you go.
And then the same with we have raspberries. So there's one row or two are dedicated to raspberries. So they're prickly. So they form a nice kind of block between one section and the other, in between our neighbors and the farm. But yeah, that's mostly it. It's so it's forage, it's windbreaks, it's protection. A little, if a hawk is coming down on some little creature, whether it's a snake or a mammal, they can dive into that hedgerow there.
That turkey laid eggs in our hedgerow
That's
last
right.
year, so it really is
my
providing
goodness.
a home for
Yeah,
some
home.
game birds.
Oh, wow.
I forgot that. That's important. Home. Yeah.
Yeah. That family, they strutted about in that field all season long.
We try to keep a little water out there for them
Yep.
too, so they can have,
They're very sweet.
So it sounds like such a harmonious balance for our listeners who want to get involved. What are some simple steps that they can take to promote biodiversity in their own backyards?
Well, I like that you led off with harmonious balance. And you had said something earlier that you like that idea of being in concert with nature.
Yeah.
So let's start there. Like when you're going to listen to
in your windows. I love it.
yeah, when you're going to listen to a concert or a symphony,
Yeah.
you need different. I mean, you don't want to listen to the same instrument or the same singer. You want them all in concert to work together. So it can be a little daunting, like when you're going to go to your nursery and you want to be a grower of native plants. Take it slow. Start with the question, what's here already? See if you can identify what is already growing in your yard. And then maybe you pick 2 or 3 things to add and to really tend and watch and see what happens. So, if you think about, there's been a lot with milkweed for the monarch butterfly because that is the one plant for the monarch butterfly. And I think we've done really well with that. I think people have really taken off with that. But to think about something like, I'm thinking about lobelia. That's on my mind lately is I really want to grow some lobelia. And so thinking about that or echinacea. Echinacea, so the purple coneflower, that's so easy to grow. And it's, I think it's beautiful and feeds the birds. And yeah, that's a great one to start with. But look at your space and think, do you want a shrub? Do you want to invest in one, gorgeous spice bush or serviceberry? They're becoming more and more accessible at local nurseries. So thinking about what your space is like, maybe you want a tree. Maybe you have a larger space and you want to invest in a tree. So it's all in looking at your space, seeing what's there, seeing if you can use an app or something to identify what's there. And if you've got something like Japanese knotweed or bittersweet vine, things like that, you want to do some remediation. So you want to pull out those things and definitely replace them with something that's pretty hardy and native. Oh, those Virginia roses are amazing.
Yeah.
I have to mention them. Shout out to Virginia roses. That's a native rose for New England, and they're beautiful and they're quite robust. So
Yeah, those ones in the hedgerow did really well.
yeah, so if you've got something that you need to pull out, an invasive species, and you want to replace it with something, I'd say those Virginia rose, way to go.
Yeah, those are some great tips. Thank you so much, Rebecca, for joining us today and sharing and chatting with us about biodiversity.
Yeah, thanks, Rebecca. Understanding and enhancing biodiversity is it's an environmental and community issue. So I'm really glad we've got a little bit more background behind it.
Oh, I love this topic, and I love you both. Coming to talk to you.
Oh, love you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
That wraps up another episode of the Cultivator podcast. We hope you learned a little something valuable about biodiversity today.
Yeah, don't forget to subscribe and leave us a review. Until next time.
Bye.